to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down Infamous.
Hello and welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon, or Mutilus on the forums.
And it's by Parker. Go by Tweak on forums.
This is Jeremy. Go by Jermiger. What was it, Brandon? Jermiger Constagon.
Jermiger Constagon.
Constagon. So it's on the
How
forums,
can you not
though.
remember your own name?
It's on the forums.
Yeah.
I put it on the forums so I don't have to remember it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, due to our riveting lack of news this week, because it's basically been radio silence from
lack of news.
AMG.
Lack of news. Lack of news.
Lack of news.
Lack-
Lack of news.
lack-
Lack
lack
of
of
news.
news.
Lack of news.
All right. So, hobby projects. I've still not assembled my Inhumans because I'm lazy and I don't want to. It's just hard to get excited about a bunch of models I know I'm not going to play with because Lockjaw has entered that Shuri mode for me where it's just like, you're very annoying that you're so overpowered, so just go over here. I don't want to see you. I play against you enough, I don't want to also play with you. And then like all the other Inhumans I'm just not excited about, so I have had no motivation to get them out of the box. Do you guys have any hobby projects you're working on?
No,
No?
I
All
do.
right, cool.
Yeah, I think that where everyone will be very excited that you're not putting Lockjaw together or Medusa. You can kind of, that's fine. Don't do Crystal, that's fine. Don't do Black Bolt, that's fine. But you're gonna put.
I actually am kind of excited about Crystal's model. I think she actually is a cool model, but Medusa is just very bad. Like she's above average probably for models, but like she's, like you said, there's nothing really inspiring about her. I think the whole animated hair thing is really dumb, and it's done in a lot of different like mythoses and worlds and stuff. And it's like, oh, this character's animated hair. It's like, that doesn't scare me. Like nothing about that scares me as a person. Like if you told me there was an actual person in the world that can animate their hair like that, I'd be like, all right, I guess we just shoot her in the face. Like I don't, like that's not scary. Like nothing about that is intimidating. Like I'd be way more afraid of a guy who used to kickbox than a person who had these supernatural powers.
It must be nice.
Like,
it must be nice.
like, yeah, whatever.
Brandon.
Like
It must be nice, Brandon, to live in a world where you've never been pushed real hard by hair. Jesus.
I know, right? Anyway.
I being attacked by hair is one of my nightmares. If you came at me with a bunch of hair, I would be so running away. If you came at me with a knife, I think I'd stand my ground. I would at least know what to like. Okay, it's a knife. But if you came at me with a wall of hair, I think I run like a bitch. I think I just run directly away because I don't know what to do. How terrifying that would be.
Just kill yourself. Just kill yourself.
I guess that's the difference between you and me.
Yeah,
I run
yeah.
towards the hair.
Yeah, that's really you run towards the hair.
Oh God. Wow.
Anyway, so moving on, currently playing, I'm still trying the Bifrost Bruisers list that you guys like a lot. I didn't get any groans that time. That's clearly you guys are adapting to it.
I don't mind the name.
But yeah, it's been a fun list to play. We've been recording a bunch of my games versus criminals because Jeremy just wants to hard counter my list and refuses to play anything that doesn't hard counter me because he's just scared to lose. But anyway, it's been doing okay against criminals. I don't think Asgard has a good matchup in the criminals, but that might just be our weird meta, the models I'm playing and stuff.
Just out of curiosity, what does criminals struggle with Asgard?
Well, Asgard
sorry,
is
the other way around.
like,
yeah.
Kind of the thing they do is they outstat people and have throws, right? Like, so they have moderately decent to good board manipulation in throws. And then they have premium stat lines. That's like the two things they do really well. The third thing they do really well is heal themselves and like don't die. But that's part of like stats to me.
Mm-hmm.
So criminals, because they just count as 2, if they outnumber you, there's literally nothing you can do to hold a point, because one model is worth 2 of your Asgardians. And your guys are so premium and their guys are so cheap that it's like, well, what do you do when it's like Bullseye and Taskmaster on a point? How does, Thor get rid of them? He's like, can't throw them both. So you're basically fishing for wilds. And then he just activates them after he throws them away and moves them back in. You're like, well, shit. Mm-hmm. And so your only option is basically go man mode on damage and try and kill them both. And that gets hard when, you have no dice mods. So, sometimes you do well, but more often than not, your dice will, because it's the nature of the game, you don't have dice mods, 6 dice attacks are not that important. If you had rerolls and stuff, then 6 dice attacks become very premium, but it's just kind of, you're at the mercy of like swingy dice. And so if you get like 5 or 6 hits, then yeah, you can shred people, but them swinging back 5 dice at you, like, it doesn't change the math on damage very much. And so you're paying a lot of points for those stat lines. And if your guys are basically reduced in value because they don't contest at the same rate, it's very hard. So that's the real problem with criminals versus Asgard, is that they secure the points so much more efficiently than you do.
It's funny, that's a good segue into my play currently, which is I am still playing Avengers, but I decided to put in more rerolls. Basically, I switched out Vision for Captain Marvel to make it a little bit less defensive and a little bit less toolboxy, and just be able to put out damage without Ghost Rider, because basically Ghost Rider was the damage of the list, which was strong. But if I ever played a really small point list, I didn't know how I was going to fit it all in. And played a game with Jeremy, and that was small. It was only 14 points, and I'm glad I had Captain Marvel. And as it turns out, Black Panther and Captain Marvel are enough rerolls. I eventually spiked and was able to knock down criminals. But Jeremy and I learned that...
I would say Ghost Rider is easily an entire tier above Captain Marvel in like power ranking. Right. I would say. I actually really liked Ghost Rider in that list.
Yeah. The only reason why at 14 points, I was having a hard time putting him in, and it still be an Avengers list. Like, I wanted it to be an Avengers list.
Well, sure, that's a very specific situation.
Yeah, but yeah, I think above a certain point level, Ghost Rider is really nice in Avengers. He fixes a lot of their problems and really doubles down on their team ability. So yeah, I like with Ghost Rider and Avengers Assemble, the list is surprisingly mobile. Just with one tactics card that is cheap, and it just it wants to live forever. If your opponent can't move Captain America around, which right now there's lots of ways to move Captain America around, there always will be. But if your opponent doesn't have a way on that turn or in that situation, then it can can feel so ball busting. So I like the list, but I think after playing a bunch of rerolls, I might try some other factions that do rerolls more often, like Wakanda. Or MODOK in Cabal, try something like that. But I do still like the list, and I'm going to keep trying it. I'm going to keep playing it, see what else it can do.
Cool.
Jeremy, in our game, you did you changed your mind about TTS. That was nice during our game, which is not really a playing currently for a list thing, but it was nice to not hate it anymore.
I think it was before the game he changed his mind.
So 2 different things there. TTS for one, finding all the quick keys and kind of finding all the things that were bothering me, like how to fix it, and be like, how are people managing this without losing their fucking minds? Like fiddling with tools and like knocking things over, and it just felt very clumsy. But I did a little bit more research and was like, okay, I want to really make this happen. And I mean, the last game we played a couple nights ago, and the game went really smooth. And then also watching other people play, I was like, oh look, it also takes other people almost 3 hours to play a full game. So I didn't feel like in the past I was like, God damn it, this is just taking forever. This is just, way too long. Well, it turns out if you commit to a TTS game, it's like, look, you're committing for another 2.5 hours, 3 hours. That's just how it is. So with both of those things, I'm doing pretty good with it. Like, I don't mind it, and actually I kind of want to play it some more. So the second thing, I played you both different ways, but criminals playing their game they play, it's really strange because I was putting, like, I'm kind of a coward when it comes to victory points, so I'm always trying to play it slow. That way I can kind of control, like, I don't want anything to get out of hand. So I keep playing these slow lists, but I don't think criminals play to that. I think that on turn 4, if criminals have to go to turn 5, they tend to lose. Because the grind is slowed down. Like, I don't want to damage you. That's not the game I want to play. I don't want to give you power. I don't want to let you do anything. But by turn 4, I'm so beat up. Like, I've done all the throwing. I've done all the pushing. I've done everything I can. And then on turn 5, I finally start getting models turned over and start losing things. I think criminals need to win before that. And I think they can. I'm just picking the wrong missions. So over the last couple games. Yeah, I think over the last couple games, I've just picked the incorrect missions because I'm feeling really strong about kind of the play I'm making. I just don't know that with the missions I picked, I could even have much of a hope of winning effectively. I might have won, like me and Brandon played, but he had some bad dice rolls. We did some things and whatever. But I think at the end of the day, I think criminals can win really efficiently and very quickly. I just don't think they have a game after turn 4. That's my opinion.
I don't know that's specifically locked into turn 4, but certainly the whole point of the faction is really that they have an ability that says my models are more efficient than your models. And so certainly if you are trying to take advantage of that and your opponent has built a list around fighting, well, then you don't want to fight them because their list more than likely has advantages towards fighting. Your list has advantages towards scenario. So even if you can fight, you don't necessarily want to, especially if they're advantaged in the fight. But certainly all of your tactics cards as well are very blitzy early major impacts. Like they're very big swing an entire turn on its head cards. Even cruelty is going to sometimes swing a turn because if you play like all you've got and then you're trying to kill somebody before they get to go, like cruelty putting the nail in the coffin and finishing someone off would be huge. And so like all 3 of their cards can really give you an advantage in the short term. And I think their affiliation is very similar to that. And so yeah, I think I agree with you that they're definitely more of a blitz style affiliation. And if you've been playing them as more of like a sustain type list, kind of like Asgard is, yeah, that's probably not great.
I think that's what I've been doing. And I mean, me and Parker's game, the whole goal was I wanted to see if I could play a 14 and see how that would work out. I didn't even count it before we did. I had no idea what I'd play, nor did Parker. It's not like we thought about it, but that was really the goal there, and it was fine. Again, I'm playing these slow scenarios that are just too grindy for my list. Like, I think they'll live through everything, but they simply don't. Like, they finally fade out. Like, about turn 4, turn 5, like, criminals just tend to fade. Like, they're just all on the backside. They're starting to get KO'd. I mean, all at the same time. And no faction's worse on their back than criminals. Like, they can't hit you hard. They can't use their ability anymore because they're on their backside. Like, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
Trying to think if there's any affiliation that has a worse time once they're injured.
I mean, everybody else's abilities stay just fine.
Ooh. Agents of Smash has a worse time when they're injured.
Fact.
Get it?
Fact.
Because they're dead.
Because they're also dead. Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, this week has been
I probably
a good
agree
week.
with that. They certainly run out of gas pretty hard.
It's been a good week to play criminals and kind of like play a couple games in a row, especially against 2 different people. I got to see, and I've played criminals now a few times in a row, so I'm starting to feel decent with them. And I'm actually starting to go, okay, these things work, these things don't. Which it takes a few games to get there with that, and I like where I'm at. I think criminals are pretty cool.
I think so now off that back to the original topic for TTS that Parker talked about. My problem with TTS, which I'm sure is a lot of everybody's problem with TTS, is I get impatient because it reminds me of playing board games, which is funny because it's Tabletop Simulator. It's like the whole point of Tabletop Simulator is play board games, but I can't play board games with people most of the time because I will be sitting here and I'm so analytical that I've planned every turn I can have for the next several turns because I'm always thinking about stuff, and I look at other people playing board games, and a lot of the casual board gamers are just kind of like, they wait for their turn, then they try and make decisions, and then they don't think about what they're doing until their turn comes back around. It's kind of like newer Magic players will do that. Like, you haven't planned anything. And so, back in the day, we would play Dominion. I'm like, all right, my turn. I draw these cards. done. And then it gets the guy to my left's turn, and nobody's gone yet. It's a first round. He's like, well, I have 4 gold. And then they look at the golds, the 4-cost gold cards, for the first time since we started the game on his turn. I'm like, what? Like, how is this a thing? So once something is decided, I have 0 patience. And so, like, in the game, for TTS, I don't mind setting up the game. I don't mind starting the game. I don't mind playing the game. But once the game, like, the win meter has tipped one way or the other, I lose all patience. I'm like, all right, let's just shortcut this. It's like, this guy is going to fight you. Here's my dice, go, go, go. And here's my rerolls. It's like, I got 4. And it's like, but in TTS, you can't really do that because everything is mechanical and interactive. And I'm like, all right, I'm attacking you. And they're like, all right, well, they can't see my cards or even really my models very well sometimes because the way the camera is, you move and you have to zoom in to really see things well enough. And it's like, all right, I'm attacking you. And they're like, oh, well, what is, like, Killmonger's basic attack damage type? And so they have to zoom out, scroll, look at his card, and then go back to their dice tray and add dice to the pool. It's like, but if it was real life, you could literally just move your eyeball, glance for a second, see yellow, and roll the dice. Like, it's so much quicker. Because there's no interface to interact with. And so, yeah, it makes the later turns of the game take like 5 to 10 times longer. But the middle turns, like the early turns of the game, take about the same amount of time, I honestly think. Because there's a lot of decision making and a lot of nuance in those turns. And it's not as much of, okay, we know that Black Widow has to attack this model. And it's like, all right, so we're just going through the motions and trying to get it done. And it makes all the little stuff take longer. Which is the part where we're basically around turn 4, I just lose patience with the game, and then it becomes very frustrating and boring. And that's why I don't like Tabletop Simulator. But I do think anyone who is interested in doing Tabletop Simulator, like Jeremy did, should go online and find like hotkey tutorials, because they've done a lot of work to make the game better and more interactive and useful. Like, there's a ton of hotkeys for interacting with the widgets and the range rulers and stuff that even wasn't there just a couple months ago. So,
also,
anyway, that's my thoughts on TTS.
Some of the heads-up display stuff also works, for that fatigue part where you're like, I do not want to go over to your character and find out how much damage it has. You're like, oh, just look up at the side of the screen now because there's a heads-up display function now. Like, there's some other things like that you just don't know how to turn on unless you do any research on it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So that brings us into our main topic today. We're going to be talking about tactics cards. Specifically, we'll be rating tactics cards, starting with the unaffiliated but character-specific or required cards. So if you've listened to previous episodes, we recently rated all of the affiliated cards, 1 through 10. And so now we're going to move on to the character-specific unaffiliateds. Looks like there's about 31 character-specific unaffiliated cards, which is coincidentally the exact same number of affiliated cards, which surprised me.
That's really strange.
Alrighty. Yeah, it's like it's almost like they're trying to make a quarter of the cards affiliated, a quarter of the cards character restricted, and 50% of the cards unrestricted.
You son of a bitch.
Really weird.
They did it. They finally
Oh my god,
did it.
what if there's 62 unrestricted cards? Let's see, it's 68 through 107. Nah, not quite. It's real fucking close, though.
Yeah.
Alright, cool. So our first card today is going to be Pym Particles.
All right. Cliff notes on Pym Particles. Ant-Man or Wasp can spend 2 power to play the card, and they can choose another allied character within 3 of them, and then choose an interactive terrain feature of size 3 or less within 3 of that chosen character. The chosen character throws it medium. So you basically give a character a throw for 2 power on an Ant-Man or a Wasp.
This is super heave-ho.
Yeah.
This is Heave-Ho 2. The heavening.
It is literally heave-ho. Yeah, it's the reheavening. So it costs 1 more to play on 1 character, right? Because heave-ho, I think, is 1 each. God,
Yes.
heave-ho isn't 2 each, is it?
No.
Anyway, we'll look at heave-ho later. So it's 2 on Ant-Man or Wasps, but then you choose an ally within range 3 instead of range 2, and then you choose a terrain feature within range 3, not range 2, and then and it can be up to size 3, not size 2, and you throw it medium instead of short. It's literally just heave-ho with +1 in all the number slots.
Yep.
That's literally what it is. It's just heave-ho +1 across the board.
All I can imagine is the look on your opponent's face when you're like, all right, Pym Particles, I'm going to throw this. And they go, whoa, 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 whoa. What are you doing?
What does that do?
What are you fucking doing? And like, this guy within 3 is going to... No, bullshit, bro. Let me see the card.
Okay, so this card is much better than Heave-Ho, which we said Heave-Ho, I think we said was the worst card in the game.
Potentially.
I think we said that.
Yeah, it's a contender.
If not, it's bottom 5 for sure.
Yeah.
But you can argue semantics about which one's actually the worst, but Heave-Ho, I think, is the worst card in the game. Anger Management has a strong argument because it is not only affiliated, but character restricted on top of it, so it's real bad.
Oh, God. Okay, so Pym
But the
Particles.
functionality... Yeah, anyway. So this is actually pretty solid. Throwing size 3 terrain is good. But the important thing here is the Ant-Man or Wasp does not need to be within range 3 of the terrain. Only the character throwing it needs to be within range 3. So you can actually play this from a lot of useful areas, unlike Heave-Ho, which is a little triangle of range 2, which is pretty worthless.
I mean, okay, so what if it said apply 4 damage to a model within, what, long, medium? Yeah. Apply 4
medium of an ally within 3.
That's actually really good. Shocker. That's
It is
actually
good.
really good. But you have to take, I mean...
Well, it would have to be to get you to play Ant-Man or
I was
Wasp.
going to say.
Yeah.
You have to pay the Ant-Man Wasp tax.
Yeah.
Also, real fast, do you ever even get 2 power on Ant-Man and Wasp? Is that going to happen every once in a while? I guess it could in A-Force, right?
I mean, sure.
Like A-Force, you'll get 2 power.
Yeah, they're going to take a bunch of damage as soon as they're attacked.
Yeah, that's true.
So let's assume it's, I mean, you have to assume that this is Wasp and it's also A-Force, right? Like, that's the given. I can't imagine.
Maybe. I mean, no, I know there's people out there that really like the Pym Tech stuff. And I think eventually we will see a more Pym Tech stuff come out. Like, I think we'll see Ghost and Yellow Jacket for sure. We might see Stature. But I think we'll see like a team of 4 at some point.
Well, if they make a team and they have their own abilities, then Pym Particles will be one of their cards they take. That's a really good card if there's a faction and it's a thing. That's really cool.
Okay, so how about it this way? If this card said Valkyrie and Enchantress instead of Ant-Man and Wasp, this card is constantly played.
Yes, it's
So like it's just held back by the Pym Tech guys. That's the only thing holding it back. Because this card is pretty solid. So how about this? Without the restriction on characters, this would probably be a 7 or an 8.
absolutely.
I think that's a fair place
I
to
would
start.
get solid 7.
So with the restriction, I would probably put it at a 4, maybe a 5. Jeremy, where would you put it with the restriction?
So here's the problem with the restriction, though. You don't even look at this card unless you're using those 2, so you have to assume they're included.
Well, right.
So it's either a 0 or not. I mean,
right, but so you're saying we shouldn't weigh the ratings based on who can play them? I think that heavily impacts the rating.
I guess. But I mean, if it's a 0 or something, it's either 0 or something.
Like the Ebony Maw card would be a 9, but Ebony Maw is terrible, so why would it be a 9? Like,
Okay. Oh, I guess. All right. So
are you saying because you also have to keep in mind it's not just a blank card, because even if you took the restriction off, it can still only be played by how many people? This one's a little more flexible because it's either Ant-Man or Wasp. Some are going to be it's like single character restricted.
I'm going to give it a 6.
Like Ebony Maw's card.
I think its value is a 6.
Well, I think we should hammer out how this is going to work, because this is obviously going to come up again when we do the next card. So,
I don't know.
what do you guys think? Like, we don't have to do it any specific way. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page, because this messed up our ratings last time. And so we need to definitely figure out how we want to do it.
I don't think we.
Do you guys think that
I don't think we can talk.
Do we think we should let people decide what the difference is, or should we tell them what we think it puts it at?
I don't think any of these can be character specific on the rating, using the character as part of the rating. I think the card has to have its own value. But then again, where does the value when you don't even use the character, right? Does this card
Right.
does
like
this
you clearly aren't playing this.
so does this card drag a character into the game? I will argue that Lethal Protector drags Venom into your list. This card doesn't drag anyone.
That's because Lethal Protector is so awesome.
Well, you know what I mean?
think this, but if this card didn't exist, there'd literally be no reason to own the models.
Okay.
In my opinion, that's how bad I think those two models are.
Okay.
Now that being said, they're not so bad that you can't make them work, and this is a good step towards making that happen.
Okay.
So basically, when I say this is a 5, it means that if I saw this in your list and you were playing one of the two models to play it, I think I would rate that about average. Like if you're playing Wasp with A-Force so that you can play Pym Particles and then maybe Special Delivery as well, I'm like, sure. Like you're making good, acceptable use of these cards and these models. But if we rated an 8, you're like, well, clearly I have to play Wasp to get this card. So it's just like, which perspective do we want to look at? I would rather rate it with that, because we also rated the affiliation specific ones with the knowledge of what affiliation they're being played with, which is the exact same thing here. Because if you were able to play like, I don't know. But yeah, so when we rated the affiliations, we rated them with the knowledge of like who was going to be able to play the cards and who could benefit from it. For like example, Stalwart Determination is a lot different in different affiliations, and so and also Rainbow Bridge is the best in Asgard because they have enough power to actually use it.
So I just shifted my mindset to if I look across the board and I see this with the character, how much do I value that in their list? And I agree. I think it's a 5 or a 6, and I can look at it like that and be fine. That's fine.
I think it's this because if we look at it from till the end of the line as well, till the end of the line, if you have Bucky and Cap already, is very good. But if you're including Bucky solely to play that card, well, then the value changes a little bit. All right, so I said 4. You said, what's your final number
5
on this? So we're rating it with the cost of the character. 5?
Yeah, 5.
Parker?
I say a 4 also. I say a 4.
Yeah, I feel like we're being really mean to the Pimtech guys. I mean, it's just like, you could just play a character that can throw size 3 terrain. Like,
that's
exactly
that's exactly what I thought. I was like, we now have, and we're about to have more characters that can pick up and throw things even from range 3, right? Like you could just play that character, and you don't have to attach Ant-Man or Wasp to your list. If you're using, I think A-Force with Wasp might be the exception, but I think it's a real corner case. And even then, A-Force already has some great cards they're playing. Are you actually going to put down this card instead of one of those other great cards? I don't think so. I think it's a 4 because ostensibly it's a card. It's not a bad card, but I don't think it sees the table very often.
Because, it's only one-time throwing, and, I mean, there's probably not a 3-point character that can throw size 3 terrain, especially with these stat numbers on the throw. But, there's a lot of characters that can do stuff, even if they're not 3-pointers, that probably are other options. It is a solid card, but you're taking a character that feels like dead weight most of the time.
So,
I think I'm fine with that.
You're looking at, just as a baseline, Crew of the Milano, Lovable Misfits, and Vibranium Shielding were all 4s. So that seems fine. I can live with all that. That's fine.
Yeah.
I can live with that.
It's like, if you take it, I'm like, yeah, that will probably help you sometimes.
Yeah, it's okay.
And it will probably not be good the rest. All right. So moving on. Next up, we have Ricochet Blast.
Oh, no.
Parker.
All right.
Hit us with some knowledge.
Ricochet Blast. Oh, you're jumping around on my... It's not the next thing listed on it
is
MCP.
100% the next thing listed. Oh no, look at the data sheet for the cards we're doing in what order.
Oh, okay.
They're sorted by character. We're going to do character together.
It just so happened to be that Pym Particles and Ricochet Blasts. Sorry, Pym Particles was the first on both, and so I just thought they all were. I didn't look at them.
Ah, I see.
Where the heck is it?
Type it in. Just search.
Just do it this way.
I'll read it.
I got it. I'm going to get it. Got it. Here we go. Ricochet Blast. It is a range 4, 7 attack dice energy attack. If it is Iron Man's activation and he is within range 4 of Captain America, they can both spend 2 power to make that attack happen. While within 4 of Captain America, Iron Man may use Ricochet Blast attack shown, and the range and line of sight is measured from Captain America instead of Iron Man, and Iron Man can reroll any attack dice during the attack.
So yeah, big deal on this one is it is a 7-die energy attack that you can reroll any dice on, which is pretty awesome actually if you do the math, and especially, I guess you don't technically ignore line of sight, so you don't ignore cover with this, even though it's like usually Cap's range attacks do, but whatever. So, Jeremy, do you have thoughts on this card?
Right now I'm thinking, can you use Friday AI and do this? It's an attack, right?
Yes, you can, because he is still making the attack.
So you're looking at a 9 dice rerollable for, what is it, 4 power or 2 power? So 4 power.
2 power on both.
To do 9 dice, laser
4 total,
beam. It's not a beam attack, though. It's just an attack.
Nope.
It is not a beam attack. Now, if you want an action card that gives a beam attack, let me introduce you to Thunder Wave.
I'm not too excited about it. Again, I've never seen it actually played. But for a rerollable 7 dice attack, it ain't nothing. I'll put it as a 4, just like the other one. It ain't nothing, but whatever.
Okay. So I do want to say about this. This was played obviously in starter box days, but this is, I think, one of those cards that has aged really well because 7-die attacks are still pretty uncommon, and they generally cost at least 4 power. So if you do the math on it, and you're like, well, but now I only have to spend 2 power on 2 characters. That's obviously a lot more reasonable than 4 power on 1, and you have an easy access to 9 dice on the attack. And a 9-die energy attack re-rolling dice is crazy valuable, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think this has actually gone up a lot in value over time as we realized how valuable this was. Because when it first came out, usually what everybody did was like, they're like, all right, I'm going to play this. And then they read the restrictions after they went to play it. And they're like, oh, I can't do that because I'm not like close enough or whatever. So yeah, I think this is actually on the uptick. And I think more people should probably give this a try. I'm actually going to give this a 6. I think it is above average, and this card is actually pretty impacting to the game. Obviously, Cap's not hard to get on the table. Iron Man's not like overly competitive or anything, but for a 3-point model, it's pretty easy to get him on the table.
The one thing I will say about this also is, in terms of like model placement, it is not hard if you get that back middle location, like on F deployment and D deployment, I think it is, that has the center middle. I know F does. D. Yeah, F and D, right?
D is the only one, or D and E have it in the same spot.
Oh, those are D and E. So if you get like a D or E deployment, and you get Iron Man, just standing back like he likes to do, and then Cap's, somewhere in front of him, and then into that range 3, that's not difficult to have happen consistently over the course of a game, and you will that will happen eventually, and when it does, you will. But then Friday AI is cheaper than Avengers, right? So
it is. So it costs 4 on Iron Man, 2 on Cap to do the 9-die version.
Yeah. So I will say that because it's an Avengers, and Avengers actually doesn't have that many cards you want to play. I'm actually
pretty much just Avengers assemble.
Yeah. I think I'm actually gonna like. I like the 6. I'm gonna look at this one again. I don't have Iron Man on my list, but I actually, I think you're right. I think it's 6.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this card after reading it again. I think this is one of the ones that kind of got forgotten in the box and nobody ever looked at again, and it's actually, I think, kind of valuable nowadays.
I think everybody assumed it was another Thunder Wave, right? But it's not.
Right. Well, back in the day, we were like, oh, it costs an action. We just assumed it was going to be free. And it's kind of like Cosmic Invigoration. Like, there was like a month where Cosmic Invigoration was considered bad. Because you're like, it hurts your guy because the attacks we had were so bad that it was like, well, why would you bother Cosmic Invigorating Crossbones? He's so terrible. But now we have models that can take advantage of it. And now we know that like Captain America is actually a valuable leader. And so combining him with a character that's not expensive to get a really, really good attack at the right moment. Like, if you get initiative, and is it initiative or priority? I've just had a brain fart. Which is it?
Priority.
Priority. That's what I thought. So yeah, you get priority, and you can just like laser down somebody. Like think about attacking MODOK, for example. Like put a 9 dice energy attack into MODOK that you get to reroll dice. All of a sudden, that's actually scary to him.
Ooh, another funny thing, a little surprise tactic. People don't think Captain America is going to hurt you, so
That's true.
so the people will put like important models right in front of Cap and go, he's not going to attack me. He's just gonna run away, eventually. And go guard his guy that he needs to guard on the point. But if you before Cap does that, because you can do it outside of Cap's activation, before Cap does that, Iron Man lasers him down from downtown. That's pretty cool. You might catch somebody way out and unawares of that.
You get to shoot somebody within effectively like range 9 of Iron Man.
Right.
Because it's 4 plus his base width plus another 4.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we put it as 6. Moving on to Elemental Infusion.
Crystal's card. She may spend 2 to happen to make it work. Until this character is dazed or until the end of the round, when an enemy character that is within 3 of her suffers damage from any allied effect, after the effect is resolved, that character gains one of the following special conditions: Incinerate, Stun, or Slow. I just read this again and I realized it does not say... Okay, dazed. Never mind. I was like, wait a minute, dazed is, and then I realized dazed is not knockout, and I just kind of like your priority brain fart. For some reason, I had my vocabulary backwards. I was like, you mean if you knocked her down, she would continue to do it? No, she does. If you knock her down, she turns off. But basically, she puts a range 3 bubble around her for 2 power that adds control effects to every damaging thing you do.
This is obviously okay. I think it's overrated. A lot of people have this pretty high, and I think it's actually kind of hard to do. Like, Grievous Wounds is, in theory, good, and it has never once worked in our meta. Like, every time that card has ever been played, the attack fails, guaranteed. And so, a card like, I'm gonna play this card and expose my vulnerable, like, squishy character so that I can attempt to put effects on you. It's like, how many damaging attacks do you usually get on somebody in one act? Because it's going to basically be one activation, right? So if you play it on her, and then you can use the dog to get her in position, or you can just move up with her because she's really fast. So she'll get an attack off, and then they have an activation to daze her. And so I guess if you catch them out of position, or they've already activated the characters near her, then yeah, your character is vulnerable. But it just seems very situational. I don't know. I'm not overly impressed by this card. Obviously, applying Incinerate and Stun are both really good. Slow is basically worthless most of the time. It does come up in some situations, but basically outside of, like, Web Warriors, it's usually not that harmful. Like, they're already right next to you.
As a counterpoint, and also sort of a question, it says just active, right? And Crystal plays the card. But couldn't you, if Crystal is already close to an enemy that you're going to attack with another character, couldn't you just pop it? So it basically, it also yes, it does have a bubble that you can move around.
If I just told you you could pay 2 power to assign Incinerate to a character, does that sound too powerful for a Tactics card? 1 use Tactics card, pay 2 power, give any character Incinerate.
No, that doesn't sound too strong.
I think that's better than this.
No, that's not true. I think that Punisher.
I think it is.
Okay, so let me tell you where this works.
Go.
Punisher blowing a building up next to somebody. Green Goblin blowing a building up.
How does that matter?
If she's within 3, they all gain stun. They all gain whoever's getting damaged. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Bob
I just
shooting
don't
his
know
rocket
how.
launcher.
I mean, sure. Getting the effects on people is not impossible. It's just not super easy, right? Like, it's not a guaranteed thing most of the time. Mm-hmm. And so if you're playing a Tactics card to imply Incinerate to somebody after they take damage, I don't see that as very valuable. That's my point. Like, I've gotten Incinerate. I've incinerated a bunch of people. Like, Incinerate does not massively swing the dice numbers that much. Like, yeah, it's good. Like, obviously reducing defense pools is good, but it's not like game breaking. It's not like you're like re-rolling a number of dice. It's not like a really powerful effect. Like, Incinerate's annoying.
Yeah.
Stun is,
Also-
I think, if we were talking about stun being the really important one, then I can kind of see it, but then it's very situational. There's characters like Hulk and Thor that need to get stunned at the right time, and you'll really mess up their turn. And so I think that's fine. Like, MODOK getting stunned is a problem. But then we're talking about, well, it's only good versus certain opponents.
And I think that's exactly what you're going to get to is exactly what I thought of. I think it's actually not a come-all card. I think it's a toolbox card. If you see that your opponent is playing, a lot of really big characters that need all their activations to get a lot of value out of them, like your MODOKs and your Hulks. And as soon as you see somebody put a 6, a heavy 5 or a 6-point model down, then you're like, okay, cool. Elemental Fusion sounds like a good idea. I think that's what it is.
In practice, when are you within 3 of that character when she's not activating, right? Like, if you put her within range 3 of MODOK or Magneto, she's dazed, so it doesn't matter. Like, she'll get to move up, do it, and she has to hurt them with one attack. And so,
and that's the thing that I don't like.
It is possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
it's
so
a toolbox card, but I do
alternatively,
not know
you're
how
talking
often
about,
it works.
Yeah, so when, like, now incinerating someone like Black Panther is more valuable because, all of their dice are so efficient, or Captain America similarly, where you just need to get rid of the die, not like the math is just too good for them. So incinerate and sometimes can be very good, but most of the time it's not super impacting. Stun is usually more important of the two, but only some characters are actually vulnerable to stun. Like, it doesn't impact them enough to actually make a huge difference for a tactics card. I just value my tactics. Like there's no way this card should be anywhere near the restricted list, right? So we're not saying it's a very powerful card, and I get that. I'm just saying that I don't think it's overly powerful because you're going to play it on one turn, which means usually at most you have 2 attacks to trigger effects. So absolute best case scenario, you've triggered Incinerate and Stun on them, right? It's like, okay. It's like, you probably could have just played a card and killed them. Like spending this power on the dog to give you an extra attack die, I think is a better use of the power.
There's one other thing that I don't like about this card, which is Crystal already does these things, and she can spend 3 power to get an extra attack also. Like, for 1 more power, she actually gets to also do this. And I know it's going to have to happen on a wild, but she already, literally printed on her card is something similar to this effect. And I'm just like, why am I spending a tactics card on something that my model already does that I wanted her to do? Like, I like that she does this. So why am I also paying for it here?
Jeremy, did you want to say anything else? Because I think you like this card. I'm not trying to shit on it.
No.
I just don't think it's very good.
I think the card is interesting. I don't know that I like it. I don't know that I'd ever play the damn thing. But I think it's interesting. That's all I'll say.
Especially in this faction. I mean, I know Crystal isn't exclusive to Inhumans, but there's so many more important tactics cards to play with this faction. Like, they've got like 4 good tactics cards. And so, like, I don't see how this would ever even make your 8, let alone your 5.
No, I agree with that. I agree.
Jeremy, do you want to give me a number? You want me to go first?
Oh, I'd say 4. Maybe 3.
Yeah, I think 3.
Yeah, I would say 3.
In some very rare situations, like if you can land a stun on Hulk, which again isn't that hard because his defense is so low already that Crystal could just walk up and shoot him and you probably just stunned him. That's a big deal, but it's so rare that someone's going to play a model that's that vulnerable to stunning. All right, so 3 it is. We definitely spent a while on that one. Next up is the 7 Sons of Cinnabis.
All right, 7 Sons of Cinnamon.
Seven
Sons of Cinnabis is a beam 5 energy attack with 8 dice. Doctor Strange activation. It has to be Doctor Strange's activation, and there has to be 2 other non-Daze allied characters within 2 of him. He may spend 3 to play the card. If the attack deals damage, after the attack is resolved, the target enemy character gains Incinerate. So he has to be close to 2 other non-Daze
So
people.
this is basically the other card, but also it's an 8 dice beam attack.
Yeah.
I think it's fun.
But he has to have friendlies around, but they don't have to spend power.
Sure, but he has multiple cards that are already like that. Like Wong is usually hanging out within 2. And then Okoye is usually another popular choice because they're both cheap. And, Bodyguard for Doctor Strange is never bad. Yeah, this card is cool. I don't know that it's very good.
I mean, it's cute. It's a very large beam. It's very, very strong. But newsflash, the game really isn't won or lost by the amount of damage that you deal or random damage on multiple dudes. Like, I'll splash 2 points here, 3 points here. All you're actually doing is charging your opponent up with more power to then beat you to death with, mostly. So this card does that really well. Couple
important things about this, though. So first off, his regular attack moves people around. So it's pretty easy to line up multiple people into one beam. Secondly, he can basically teleport around, so it's easy for him to get to his friends. Because if you've activated the pentagram, then you can just hop to where the pentagram is. Then use your normal bolts of bedevilment to move people into a line, and then you can play Seven Suns. And then he also gets to re-roll his whole attack roll if he wants, including skulls. So you have 2 chances at an 8-die attack, and if you roll a couple crits on the first one, well, it suddenly becomes a 10-die re-roll. So he can mess with the numbers a bit, but I don't think this is a great card.
I mean,
but it is better than face value.
I mean, like I do when it first came out, I tried to play it multiple times, and there just never was the right time to do that.
Very restricted, yeah. I want to give this a 4. I think the restrictions are kind of harsh, but it is a good attack. There's no question that it's a good attack. Because if you're hitting multiple people with an 8-dice attack that has rerolls included on it, which it's a reroll the entire roll, not part of the roll, but it can help you on... The problem you usually see with those big dice rolls is about 50% of the time you just crap out. But if you're getting a full reroll on one of them, it's a lot more, spiky.
I'm trying to imagine a world...
And then also, if they take...
I'm
like, if you just hit 2 people with this, I think you probably got your value back.
Or imagine a world where it's turn 5 or 6, and you're playing Gamma Wave, and you happen to line this up. Like, you're nuking 3 or 4 models, probably. Like, they're just gone. That's the end of them.
Really?
So,
I don't think... Rolling 8 dice on a model is not going to automatically kill them.
On turn 5 or 6, it would.
We're talking about... if you've already weakened them up a little bit. But also, Parker, don't think about it's a single 8 dice attack. You got to think, the point of Doctor Strange is you get the full reroll. And so it's like Han Solo and X-Wing. It's it doesn't matter that it's only 4 dice.
I forgot. Yeah, I forgot it's
you
Doctor
do
Strange
it enough
it.
times,
you're
gonna spike. And especially if the first roll is skull hit or crit hit, it's now it's 10 dice full reroll. It's well, now all of a sudden you've got 7 hits. And it's just, you're at the threshold where a good roll is killing somebody. Because you'll get to that point where their defense can't soak enough of it. And so you're doubling the amount of times you get to roll because of his passive rerolling.
Got it.
That's the important part. Also, he can spend a power to change the damage type. So if you've got a Wolverine who's super weak to Mystic, you can make it a Mystic attack that hexes them, which means they don't roll crits on or extra dice for their crits, which is pretty cool. So because of all the utility Doctor Strange specifically brings to this, I think it's okay. I think it's still below the bell curve, or at the lower end of the bell curve, but it is very hard to play, which is why I'm putting it there. If it wasn't for all the extra stuff Doctor Strange adds and for all the restrictions on the card, I think it'd be moved around a bit, but I want to put it at 4. What do you guys think?
I agree. If you take Doctor Strange, you look at it for a minute, and you either will or won't take it. It's not a have to. So, yeah.
Yeah. Parker?
I actually think it's a 3 because I don't like it. I don't like the attack. I think it's a little too restrictive, but...
Okay, so it's not the attack you don't like; it's the restrictions on the card.
Yeah, it's just way too many things to have
you're right.
to do.
The card on these attacks, the card doesn't give you the attack. The card allows you to make that attack action one time.
Right.
And so, it's a little weird, but technically the card isn't making the attack; it's him. Which is why all those new attack cards say you can't mod your dice. It's this is the exact situation.
Right.
All right, so Jeremy, you said 4.
Yep.
All right, 4 it is. Moving on. We have Vapors of Valtor.
All right, this thing has a mountain of text. If there are 2 other non-dazed allied characters within 2 of Doctor Strange, he may spend 3. Choose a character within 3. That character gains Obscure Mist tokens. Every single time that character is targeted by attack, you shuffle the tokens and reveal 1 at random. If the token has a blank on the back, so I'm guessing there's 1 in 3 chance? Is there's only 1 blank?
Yeah, the way this works, there's 2 blanks. There's 2 like foggy mists, and then one of them has the silhouette of a person inside of it.
Okay. So
basically, if you see the silhouette, you've hit the person. Yeah.
Okay. So if the token has a blank on the back, you may reroll any number of the attacker's dice. If it has a silhouette, the attack continues. At the end of the round, remove all Obscuring Mist tokens. Little side note about this card. This has my favorite card art maybe of any card in the game because it has Doctor Strange. It is the new version of Doctor Strange with his awesome magical axe and his new outfit. I really like this card art because they chose to do the super contemporary Doctor Strange. But little side note.
So about this card, it works it has the same restrictions as the previous card, Seven Suns. So you have to have 2 non-dazed allies within range 2 of Doctor Strange, and then he can play this card for 3 power. Then you're going to give 1 character within 3 of him these tokens. And then, so the tokens basically say 2/3 of the time when they're attacked, you will get to reroll the attacker's dice, any combination of them. And so this is extremely powerful. If you play it on an ally, when they're attacked and it triggers, you will get to reroll the successes only on your on the opponent's attack. Or if you're attacking an enemy, you can reroll only the failures. Well, not specifically the failures, but the non-successes. So this is pretty great. Most people don't realize you can play it on enemies so if you played this on MODOK, for example, you could choose to reroll your blanks, wilds, and blocks when attacking him, which would be pretty handy. I used to play a Hulk defenders list with this, and you would play it on Hulk on turn 2, and then Hulk would just tank an amazing amount of damage, because if you just do the math, like let's say a 5-die attack usually generates 3 hits. Well, if you then re-roll those 3 hits, they're averaging 1.5 hits, which turns out way easier to defend 1.5 hit attacks than 3 hit attacks. So yeah, pretty awesome.
I really like that you can play this offensively and defensively because it can really surprise people. So I like tactics cards that take people by surprise, where it's not just an obvious get. And this is one of those. You play it on your opponent, and you're like, and your opponent's like, what? You're like, now I attack him, and and there's a chance that I'm just going to have to re-roll everything. And you're like, what? It feels.
Well, so if you do it with Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange plays it on someone he's planning on attacking, and then he attacks them, you get the full reroll, and then reroll anything you want. Mm-hmm. Which is crazy.
Yeah, it feels. When you say it out loud, you go, that sounds kind of broke. And you're like, yep.
It's just so wordy that most people don't look at it, I think.
Right.
All right. I put this card at a 7. What do you guys think? I'm probably a little high on it, though. I've played with it a lot, and I love it.
For me, I think this card is one of those, like, sometimes they work really hard to make a card feel like it's from a character and kind of like feel like it's a special like karate move. And I think they did a really good job with this card. I don't think it's necessary in any way. I think there's other cards that do effectively the same kind of deal at a much more a much easier way about it, whether it's just block 2 or reroll 2 dice or don't even happen at all. Like, there's lots of ways to do this. But, this is Doctor Strange's version. You line up a couple guys, throw some smoke clouds down, bamf, like whatever. But sometimes it doesn't do anything. So I can't put this higher than a 5.
It does only trigger 2/3 of the time. But the psychological impact of playing it basically means that character is not attacked.
Yeah, but
like, they just ignore them.
So you have that.
Well, I'll tell you this. I've done the math. That single card, if it triggers and you get the rerolls, it is the best damage mitigation in the game.
Okay. But, that's 2/3 of the time. But then you could do Inspiring Monologue, which is just do it. Just reroll your shit.
You can do both. You can do both. Because
Sure,
then you're rerolling attack dice and defense dice.
ugh. Then you're looking at
60
I don't know.
I've just been
Ugh.
bored at the shop and after a game and started rolling it out. 20 dice attacks are like a coin flip to injure, to even deal damage to Cap if he has both. It's like impossible. It's so much because you don't think about it, but the when do you usually take a bunch of damage? It's when they spike really high and get like 6 hits on 5 dice. Well, when that happens, you re-roll all 6 of them. Now they have like 2. And you're like, oh, well, I blocked 2, so you do nothing instead of 4. And so like it's such a big swing. And you get to see both people's results before. Like, it's so good.
66% of the time it works every time.
Every time.
5.
Parker, what'd you say? Did you give a number?
I didn't. I was actually going to give it a 6 because of card art.
Card art got +1.
Card art. Wow.
100%.
I'll take it.
Well done.
I'll
Card
take
art.
it. I don't know if Parker, do you know this because you actually read these stupid comics? Is because I can't see the back of the card. Is the artwork that he's making clones of people or that it's fog? I thought the fog was like making it was making illusions
Oh.
within the fog. Do you know? I'm just curious.
I'm trying to look at the back side of the card. I can't see it here. I thought you could see the back side of cards on this.
Well, I
app.
just didn't know because does he ever talk about the vapors of Altor? Because I know he says the words a lot.
Yeah, he says
I
it a
don't know
whole
if
bunch.
he ever like explains.
I do not
it.
know. I do not know what the spell effect. The guy he's
It's like
fighting here
Grabthar's
looks
hammer.
like.
We don't know what Grabthar's hammer is, but we know it gets savings.
Well, the guy he's fighting here looks like Mr. Misery, one of his new contemporary bad guys, who is like a silhouette, kind of like shadow being, and that's like a guy he's fighting with Girl Thor.
Okay, so maybe that's his crap and not the vapors.
Yeah. I think that's supposed to be the bad guy he's fighting, not Vapors.
Okay. All right, well, let's move on. So we got a 6 in for the vapors. Next card up is Shh by Ebony Maw.
Ebony Maw. Is it just weird, or when you say it like that, it sounds like one of those designer perfumes? Shh, by Ebony Maw.
Shh, number 5.
By Ebony Maw. So, Ebony Maw, while an enemy character, if an enemy character is within 5 of him, he can spend 1 or more power to use in a. What? Oh, I see. So, for some reason,
I read this one too.
I've well, it came with Ebony Maw, so I immediately threw it in the trash can. Okay.
I shredded it.
Yeah,
I didn't want the temptation.
So when an enemy character within 5 of Ebony Maw, so it's a range 5 bubble, spends 1 or more power to use a superpower, Ebony Maw may spend 3 power to play the card, so it's reactive. That enemy superpower has no effect and cannot be used again for the rest of the turn, but the character still spends the power cost and is considered to have used it.
So this is obviously very powerful given the right situations. One cool thing you can do is shut down Bodyguard for the whole round, which is pretty cool. Oh no, it's only for the rest of the turn. Never mind. This card is way worse now that we've realized that was a wording problem that we were doing. We had been playing turn way back when turn was the round for us, and so we've been playing like Captain America's leadership ability wrong and everything because it was so ingrained in us that turn meant the round. But yeah, so this card is really cool because you can stop stuff like Hela's Resurrection, like big things in the game. So it can be very powerful, but it's tied to an awful character, unfortunately. So you might say the worst character in the game, because we certainly do.
We see it as often as possible.
Does anybody have anything to say about this before we give numbers?
Man, like we were talking
That
about.
sounds like a no. All right.
Well, we were
Moving
talking
on.
about it earlier. If there's a reason to take a character because of a card, superpowers are almost every damn thing a character does that is not an attack. In fact, it probably is. And his ability just to
Loki's
anytime,
like, I'll trickster away. You're like, no, you won't.
Just
like, oh god. It's
basically
like,
anytime.
there's some big stuff.
Basically anytime. They're like, we're getting ready to win the
I'll
game.
so many snacks. No, you won't. You're dead.
Yep, like
Yo.
all that. So, good lord. I mean, this is one of those
God.
like Ooh,
The funny thing you do is you shoot Rocket in the face, and he's like, "I'll personal bodyguard." You're like, "No, you won't." And he's like, "Oh God!" He just dies.
Of strength of cards, man, this thing is like a 9 of
Good card.
strength. But god damn it, it's attached to a shit show. Like that guy is so bad. Ugh.
Yeah, so I don't know. I want to put this at a 2 because he's so bad. And it's just investing more in the bad train because he doesn't help any. I guess you could say he kind of helps other people, but he's also like power hungry. Like he's never going to have 3 power to play this. Like, because he doesn't generate enough power, which sounds dumb because he generates a bunch of power, but his stuff's so expensive. And he's also so fragile. Like, I don't know. I'm saying 2. I could probably be talked up to 3. Parker?
I actually like 2 because this card, as cool as it is, it's never going to get you to play Ebony Maw. Whereas we just got done talking, a little while ago, talking about a card that like the Wasp's throw card. You're just like, well, this one, if Wasp is on the board, like, you could play this card. It's a really strong card. Like this, like if Ebony Maw is on the board, then you're an idiot. Like you can't think of a good reason to play her, so play him. So I don't think
it's necessary that it gets a bad rating because you won't play him. It's just that I think that playing him is such a bad choice because he's not only going to impact your list, but like it's not like this. There's a lot of matchups where this card isn't super valuable. Like if you're playing just a bunch of random chuckleheads, like oh man, I stopped Kingpin from reducing damage and he got dazed. You're like, yeah, okay, like that maybe mattered. Like I guess I don't know. There's a lot of times this card doesn't do anything, but the times that it's worth it, it's super worth it. But you also have to invest such high resources in it. Jeremy, what's your number?
I'll give it a 4.
Why?
Because I think the strength of the card, I think the card is a fucking 10, but I think the model is a 0 and right in the middle.
I don't think it's a 10. I think an 8 might be
a strength of the card.
It's good
to win the game.
Well, okay. What does it shut down that you need it to shut down?
Charges and throws and most crazy pushes.
They have to charge from within 5 though.
5 is humongous.
It's not as big as you think it is. 3 is the majority of 5.
Okay. If any other character has this if any other character had this card, it would not be.
But also think about where he stands. He's a ranged character. Like he's completely squishy as hell. He's going to be in the back. Like people that are charging, he's never going to be within range of.
He's at least on the diamond back holding a point. He's going to hold a point. He's got to do something. I mean, he's a 5-foot
that doesn't even get to the middle of the table.
He's got to do something. I'm telling you, he's using
I think you should go and look at range 5 in comparison to where he's going to be standing.
Oh my God.
All right. So Jeremy said 4. We both said 2. So
it's fine.
2.
2. You fuckers. So 2.
That's 8 divided by 4. So 2. All right. Next up is Daughters of Thanos.
So Daughters of Thanos is played by Gamora and Nebula. And I say "and" because it is "and." Like you have to have both, right?
It says "or" on the card.
Right. So when either an allied Gamora
it says
or an
"or"
allied,
on the card.
I know it says "or," but both characters have to spend 2.
Keep reading.
Each.
Just read the card. Just read the card, Burger.
If Gamora and Nebula make an attack action after the attack is resolved, they can both spend 2. The Gamora or Nebula that did not make that initial attack can then make an attack targeting the same character.
Nice.
And the first time I read this card, I was like, "Oh, cool!" And then I saw Gamora, and I was like, "Oh man!" I don't know when I'll ever get to do this.
Couple things. Gamora is bad because she's overpriced, but she's not bad because she doesn't work. Right? She's just overpriced. Because if Gamora was 3 points, we would play her, right? So it's not a functionality problem, it's a cost problem. So if you're also playing Nebula, which is a character I think we mostly agree is undercosted, it lessens a lot of that burden. So I think playing them together as a 6-point module is not nearly as bad as playing Gamora on her own, right? I think we all agree to that.
Okay.
So now, a couple things, because there's a few cards that are kind of similar to this that have a lot of similar requirements. The biggest thing is there's no ranges mentioned anywhere on this card. They just have to attack the same person, right?
Right.
So if we go to Nebula's card, Nebula has a gun and a range 3 attack.
Mm-hmm.
And then also on Daughters of Thanos, it does not specify which attack they can make. So you can, out of activation, do the Nebula Shock Sword Assault. That's range 3, cost 3, 6 dice, with stun on a wild, and she places within one of the target. Out of activation, you can do that. That's pretty cool. And she gets to reroll her dice if the person's contesting an objective or holding an objective. I think there is value in this card. Because it doesn't say they have to be within a certain range of each other. It doesn't say they have to be within a certain range of the target. Because a lot of the other ones say within range 2 of the target or something like that. Or it says make a 0-cost attack. So I think there's situations where this is not bad.
I think
also, it's a good way to finish off somebody that you don't want to bother spending another attack on.
I think it's 100% Nebula saves this card because Nebula has a lot of ways to utilize this card. I feel like you're paying a 4-point tax to let Nebula attack again most of the time. Maybe I'm wrong. And the Gamora is just super cool for this card, but I don't see it.
She's not. Gamora's not worthless, like we said. She's just not, efficiently priced.
Right.
It's not like you're trying to make up 4 points of value. You're trying to make up 1 point of value. And 1 point of value is a lot easier when you're playing a cheap character next to them. Like Rocket and Groot, individually, people will argue Groot's not worth 3 points, but with Rocket, he's obviously worth 3 points, right? So, and they obviously have synergies, which is its own thing, and that's one of the best packages in the game. As where Gamora and Nebula, I think, were designed to be a package. They just missed that one synergy point. If they had a rule that worked together, I don't think we would even be talking about this because they'd already be being played together. Mm-hmm. It's just that they don't have a rule that, there isn't the, if they're, next to each other, re-roll a die or something, or something, one-upsmanship or something. If they're within range 3 of the other character, they get to re-roll 1 die. That would be cool.
Right.
But yeah, so I think this card's not terrible, and it is a card that gives you an extra attack, which are pretty rare. But yeah, it's not game-breaking or anything. It's not great. It's just okay.
Seems like a lot of thought to play a card. Seems like a lot of thought to try and figure out how to play this card correctly with 2 models that God, I just don't see a lot of value in it. It's okay. If you love those characters, if you love them and you just always play with them, this card's awesome for you. I think you should play it. Mm-hmm. That's how I look at it.
There's also go ahead.
No, that's it.
There's also there is a little bit of side value in Guardians because one of the things about the Guardians team ability is you don't always get to don't always get to use all 3 rerolls because your opponent doesn't oblige you by attacking you, then you just waste a reroll.
Right.
And so this is actually a way to get one more actual roll out of it. So if you might get to do 3 attacks with Nebula or Gamora that have totally rerolled, which is going to hurt, especially if Gamora is getting to do it because it's a lot of dice Gamora rolls. So there is the fact that it's Gamora and Nebula and both of them are pretty good at attacking, and you can get rerolls with Nebula or rerolls with Gamora using the team ability. It's going to be value. It's going to have value. Mm-hmm. But I wish I could play. Maybe I just need to play this card a whole bunch and see if it ever actually happens. If there's ever an opportunity for it to work. I feel that's the problem.
Well, if they run around together, there's definitely going to be an opportunity. It's a question. The problem is nobody ever plays Gamora, so nobody's ever tried it.
Yeah.
The only people that ever play Gamora are new players. They're I like Gamora, and they play her, and she's well, I lost, but it had nothing to do with Gamora. They just didn't know how to play the game because they've played one time. They're playing against somebody who is trying to win, so they're probably going to lose most of the time. It's just The big thing here, I guess, is I wish Gamora had like a pistol or a rifle or some ranged attack, and that this card would be better. Because if both of them had ranged attacks, this would be a lot simpler to pull off.
I just don't
But
think for 4.
it's an extra attack card for 4 power.
4 power, tactics card for this, and all it does, man, this is looking like a 3 to me, maybe even a 2.
I think it's a 4. Not a lot of cards generate extra attack. This is obviously better than Elemental Infusion, I think.
I actually think it's 4 because it also is in a faction that if you never get to use it, like if Gamora or Nebula goes down, you actually can eat it for rerolls. It's another thing. It's not completely worthless if it doesn't go off, and if it does go off, I think it has a lot of value. I think it's 4.
4 it is. Moving on, we have Deal with the Devil.
Deal with the devil. All right. Deal with ye old devil. Deal with it.
Just read the fucking card.
I gotta find it because everything's out of order. Okay. If Ghost Rider is KO'd, he can spend 4 power before he's removed from the battlefield. You choose any other allied character on your team. Ghost Rider removes all special conditions, removes all damage and activated tokens, drops all objectives, and is placed within one of the chosen character. The chosen character was healthy. You flip Ghost Rider's card to healthy. Enemy characters within within range 2 of Ghost Rider then suffer the Incinerate special condition, and the chosen character is KO'd. So basically, he becomes another character. That character dies. If that character was healthy, Ghost Rider's healthy when he comes in. He incinerates everyone within 2, and he loses all tokens that are on him, including activated. Just to activate twice.
Yeah, removing the activated tokens probably the biggest one. Also, like, you can play a 2-point character like Wong, who generally never gets into the combat, and he can actually contribute from back in the back, or maybe Rocket's another good choice. So you have a character that's healthy that you can sacrifice. So you're basically paying 7 points for 2 Ghost Riders instead of 5 points for 1 Ghost Rider, and you get value out of those 2 points during the game. It's a very good card. But yeah, potentially also getting to activate your Ghost Rider twice, which is cool.
I'm
Jeremy,
a
do you
huge
have
Ghost
anything
Rider
to say
fan.
about Deal with the Devil.
But go ahead.
I think it's great. I think it's along with the healing cards and all the things that kind of like get rid of, oh, I killed a model. Shit, my model's dead. I can't do anything. Surprise! He's over here now. It's a great mechanic. It's a great card. It's perfect for Ghost Rider. I think it's great in almost every way.
Yeah. This card wouldn't be nearly as good if it wasn't for the fact that he punishes you for attacking his allies. Being that he does, it makes it very punishing because you don't really have a good choice. You can either feed him a bunch of power and damage into your list, or you can give them an extra Ghost Rider for the low cost of 4 power and a 2-point model, which is also very annoying. Which basically just means, much like Ultron, he's impossible to kill, because unless you daze him on turn 2, he's not going to die in a normal game, because he's going to get dazed on 3, killed on 4, then dazed on 5, killed on 6, when it doesn't matter anymore. Like, it's just so hard to make any headway against him if you don't daze him on turn 2. Because even if you daze him on turn 2, if he plays this card, you're probably not getting him off the table before the game's over. And so you're just going to have to deal with Ghost Rider the whole game anyway. So it's like, well, I guess I might as well save the attacks and just not attack him and just let him do whatever he wants.
That doesn't work either, by the way.
It doesn't work either.
Yeah.
Don't let Ghost Rider do what he wants.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is part of the reason I think Hela was such a miss. And this might be the, we're sorry about Hela, here's a good Hela, but like it doesn't help Asgard because one of their characters is basically worthless because she's just a bad version of Ghost Rider, right? Everything she does, she like collects souls and shit. She's worse at that than this guy is. Like he punishes people for being around him and attacking other people. He has such quality attacks. He's mobile. He's impossible to kill. Like, it just seems like he does everything Hela wants to do, but better. Oh, and also he, like, hard counters the third Resurrect character in Ultron. Because you just penance stare him and he dies. He's like, oh, I have no power. This is bad. And it's like, shuts down. Like, power off, please.
Yeah. I love Ghost Rider. I play him in pretty much everything I do. This card is so strong for him. The only thing the terrible thing it does, quote unquote, is it makes you want to play a 2-point character in your list when you put Ghost Rider in your list. So it kind of makes him 7 points, but it also doesn't because you do still have a 2-point character in your list, and they're doing something quality for you because there's a 2-point character for every list. So it's not like it's not a horrible tax. It's not the worst, but it does feel like you want to do a 2-point character with Ghost Rider. So that's the one thing about him is that he can be kind of points restrictive if you want to play this card, but you don't have to play a 2-point character with him. That's just by far the most efficient.
Yeah. All right. So ratings. I give this. I want to say 7, but I'm really thinking about an 8. I'm going to say 7. I'll let you guys decide if it's an 8.
You think it's an 8, Parker? I see you waving your hands. This and that. I will say an 8 for all the reasons you said. I mean, an additional activation for free. My God in heaven, getting a 3-point swing in your list, really fucking good.
It is not guaranteed to give you an extra activation because if they kill him before he activates, or if I guess that's the only situation. They kill him before he activates is the only time you won't get the second activation. Mm-hmm. And sometimes once you get the second activation, it's not super meaningful because you're like way out of position, but still very good.
It's like the perfect card for this character who's already strong and useful in so many places. I think it's an 8.
Cool. 8 it is. Moving on. We have Highway to Hell.
All right. Another Ghost Rider card. It's a reactive card. When a Ghost Rider begins an advance while within range 1 of an enemy character, he can spend 3 to play the card. When Ghost Rider ends his move, place that enemy character within range 1 of him. The enemy character then suffers Incinerate also.
So, there are good cards, and then there are bad cards. This card, I think, is thought of as a bad card, but it's actually good. Just nobody's ever bothered to try and make this work. There's a lot of really BS things you can do with this card. Primarily, like, let's say someone picks up, like, the Power Core or the Herbs, and you're just like, okay, well, they can't move twice, so they're done. And you're just like, so I advance with Ghost Rider, pay 3 power, and I just long move back with my ride ability, and you just drop them, like, fucking halfway across the table. Because what's his long move called?
Hell on Wheels.
Hell on Wheels. So I think it's 3 for Hell on Wheels, 3 for this card. So it's not easy, but he does generate a lot of power. So you can move, pay for Hell on Wheels, move long on a large base, and then place that guy within one of you and he's incinerated. You basically just hand deliver them anywhere on the table. And sure, you're out of actions, but you can also move up and then do the Hell on Wheels, or just move and then move again. Because the hard part is getting within 1. Most people won't move within range 1 of you. Mm-hmm. So you're probably going to have to move twice to make it happen. But you could move once Hell on Wheels, place them, and then attack them still. Or hell, you could move up, attack them, and then Hell on Wheels back if you need more power.
Does Hell on Wheels count as an advance?
It is an advance. All movement is an advance.
It actually
that
says
are not
advance.
Places.
Okay.
Yeah, it does not say move action, where special delivery says requires a move action.
That's what I was looking at.
This only requires an advance.
Yep. Also, is a large base, so you can flip them over your base. You can move them.
Yeah,
very
that's
far.
what I said. Yeah.
Oh,
so
sorry,
front to back on a large plus a long, because it's double base width plus a long plus 1. It's crazy far. Mm-hmm. Plus 1 on both ends, actually. So I want to say that's like 14 or 16 inches. It's really far. But yeah, and they're incinerated on top of that, and it's just crazy. And then they're basically screwed, right? Because the important thing here is I don't think people think about the order of activations. you do this to somebody who's already activated. And so they're just like pulled across the table and cannot respond to what is being done to them. And the rest of their army isn't close enough to do anything about it. And you just gang up on them.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is very good. Are we ready for numbers? You guys have anything else you want to bring up about it?
No, I think that you've hit it all. It's a crazy movement card.
Okay. 7. It is expensive and it is situational.
5.
I'll actually agree with Jeremy on this one. I think it's 5.
Hurt. Just remember, when I start Hell on Highway to Helling, you guys, you're gonna be sad.
Mhm.
5 it is. Wait. Did we get to the break-even point? Yeah, it's a 6.
Oh my god.
18 divided by 3 is 6 even. 6 it is. Alrighty, well, I think that's going to wrap it up for our rating section today. So, thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed that. It was fun for us, kind of. Let's see how many we get through. We did
For
1,
kind
2,
of.
3, 4, 5,
Sort
6,
of.
7, 8, 9. We did 9 of 31.
Hell
So we
yeah,
probably
we're
have 2
in.
more episodes
We
of
did
this.
it.
Mhm.
We got to my favorite
Basically
character,
already done.
so I don't care.
Uh-huh. Well, I didn't want to go into the Green Goblin stuff because, who likes those cards?
Yeah.
Anyway, so Parker is now going to take us into Comic Corner. And maybe he won't spoil the next episode of WandaVision this time.
Oh, damn it. So my comics that I wanted to bring to the Comic Corner, I don't know why it never occurred to me to do it before, but if anyone has never checked out the Uncanny Avengers series, so basically it's a follow-up to major Marvel event, tossed some mutants and Avengers around the A versus X event. And so as a response to that, Captain America got the bright idea, like, hey, let's go ahead and make a coalition. Let's go ahead and, stop making X-Men problems only X-Men problems and Avengers problems only Avengers problems. And let's try to marry the two organizations together in kind of a crossover thing. Because we've had some mutants on the team and we've had some X-Men on the team. Let's go ahead and make this official. And so he works with Havoc, and they basically form a new team. And the new team is Wasp, Scarlet Witch, Thor, Captain America, Sunfire, Havoc, Rogue, and Wolverine. And Havoc is actually the team leader, not Cap, which is kind of a cool dynamic that they explore in the series. But basically, they're trying to take on things that both the Avengers have a hard time with and X-Men have a hard time with, and they're kind of trying to do both jobs and kind of put their feet in both camps. It's a really good series that explores basically like a collaborative activity. Kind of a standard. We want to try to solve lots of problems. We want to be bedfellows. We want to be friendly, but they're also antagonistic towards one another because both of them feel like a chip on their shoulder towards the other side of the team. And then you have like the go-betweens that have been on both sides all the time, like Scarlet Witch and Wolverine, and they're like, and they feel like they have to play nice with both like sides of the team. And so it's cool watching their team dynamic kind of evolve over the course of the issues. They deal with some really cool bad guys, like they introduce the another bad guy that we talked about in an earlier issue, the Red Skull with Xavier's powers. He got Xavier's brain, and that somehow gave him powers. It was a very comic book way. No explanation necessary. Just kind of like, I got his powers from his brain. But it is really cool with what would Red Skull be able to do if he had Professor X's brain? As it turns out, some terrible, terrible things. And they deal with that. My favorite storyline, though, that I recommend to anyone is the Uncanny Avengers Apocalypse Twins. So Archangel, while he was Apocalypse for a little while in an X-Force series, he had kids. And the two kids got kidnapped by Kang and raised by him. And just like any good children, they eventually turned on their father and tried to murder him and his entire timeline. And they actually win. They succeed. I always like the What If series of comics where the bad, what would happen if the heroes lost? And Uncanny Avengers, the Apocalypse Twins, explores that in an actual way. Like, the Uncanny Avengers lose. They get played by the Apocalypse Twins. And that's like the start of the story of you find out how it is that they lose. and it plays on this rift in the team between the Avengers and the X-Men and how they're trying to resolve this. And they have to basically go on it. They literally are avenging the world because they lose the fight and the world is lost. So if you liked Thanos type stories where the Avengers lose and they're having to find out how to be the actual Avengers of the world, and if you like the idea of this dynamic between mutants and Avengers and both of them kind of laying on top of one another at the same time, really cool series. Specifically, the issues regarding the Apocalypse Twin, that the twins, that arc is super fun. It also has my favorite Thor moment, maybe in any comic book, where he gets really pissed off at the Apocalypse Twins because he knows what's happening. He knows that they're manipulating the rest of the Avengers' emotions, and so he basically just goes full like hard ass Thor on them. And one of them is trying to explain to him that how he manipulated them. He's like, I did this. He's monologuing really hard, and every time he asks Thor like, "Don't you get it, Thor? Don't you see what I did? All these amazing things." And Thor just keeps saying, "I care not," and he says "I care not" to him like 7 times. And while they're like throwing down this crazy big fight, the bad guy is trying to monologue, and Thor, the only thing Thor says is "I care not." And I'm not going to tell you how this fight resolves, but it resolves with Thor yelling "I care not" as he just murders the bad guy in the most amazing way. So if you want to see Thor just being a really awesome like Norse Viking, I don't give a shit about manipulation and mind games. I do not care. You are just going to die because I'm Thor. Really cool Thor moments in Uncanny Avengers, the Apocalypse Twin arc. I recommend it.
I could see Thor having little patience for mind manipulation.
Yeah. He just, I care not.
Every one of his villains is just mind control idiots, and you're like, leave me alone.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, thank you guys for joining. Hopefully you had a good time. This has been Brandon.
And Parker.
And Jeremy.
And thank you for listening to The Gang Runs Towards the Hair.
So there's no news. I do have a comic corner. Our main topic is more tactics cards.
Yeah, we'll just do some more tactics cards. We'll do like 10 or 15 of them.
And we're going to do TTS Season 4 by the numbers next week. Okay.
Next week.
I think it's important, though, you need to tell me right now quickly, based on, don't look, what was the number one affiliation? TTS 4.
Asgard.
Motherfucker,
you look. Okay, number 2.
I had looked at it and I have a good memory. Like I'm not actively looking at it.
What was
is
number
this
2?
Content? Is this supposed to make the podcast?
No!
This isn't gonna make...
Motherfucker.
Okay. All right.
Number 2?
All right, go ahead.
What's number 2?
The second best faction?
Go ahead. All right.
Second,
and the third?
Second most popular faction. The third? Oh, I did see it.
How deep can you go, asshole? Come on, let's go.
Defenders.
Okay, number 4.
Defenders.
Okay, number 4.
After Defenders, I don't remember looking at that one.
Idiot. You're a total idiot.
Educated guess. I want to say 8th Force was 5th. Shit. Ooh, Criminals. Criminal Syndicate.
Okay, good. 4 out of 4.
Criminals?
Yep, so 5. What's 5?
A-Force.
No,
they were... I think... I'm going to go with A-Force.
Web Warriors. No. You lost it right there. So you had the... That's pretty good.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
Right. Yeah. Oh, no. My first glance summary at the page, I only got 5 deep.
You got 4 deep.
I'm so bad.
5. You failed at 5.
4 deep. Failed at 5.
Okay, if you say so. Sure.
I bet you I could go deeper on characters, though.
Let's see. I'm going to say you go 6 deep. 6. All right, what's number 1?
Valkyrie.
2.
Then Okoye.
Uh-huh.
Third was Enchantress.
Wrong.
Oh, well, she's 4th then.
Okay. Who's 3?
I think Taskmaster was top 5. I can't remember if he was 3 or 5. I'm gonna go with Angela.
Got
number
it.
3.
Okay. Valkyrie, Okoye, Angela, Enchantress. Who's 5?
Taskmaster.
Wrong. Shuri, Toad.
Damn it. He's 6.
Shuri, Toad, Taskmaster, MODOK. Boom. That's the top 8.
What? Toad made it better than MODOK?
Yup.
People are
You
bad
heard
at
it
this
here.
game.
You heard it here.
Lots of people are bad at this game. Well, I mean, the thing I was saying earlier about how the popularity will skew things, you can literally just look at the affiliations and it will tell you who the top 10 are. I mean, Asgard, well, guess who's in the top 11 characters, like 4 Asgard characters. Like, yeah, because they were like almost a fifth of the field.
Where did I see? I saw Captain America. Thor. Thor is actually kind of deep, man.
He's 11.
Yeah, it's kind of deep. Ugh. Thor's not 11. Thor's way more than that, right? Let's see. 2, 3. Okay, 11. Whatever. Shut up.
Okay.
You got it? You know how numbers work? Congratulations.
Yeah.
I was looking at the other list. But yeah, no, that's going to be the top.
I'm not looking at the list, though. You're the one reading it and telling me I was wrong.
Shut up. Worst character in the game is, followed by...
Well, technically, are we counting characters as stones? Because the Space Stone is only slightly better than Ebony Maw.
Oh, shit. Sometimes I lay it
and
up
it doesn't
just
have any
slam
hit
it.
points.
You just fucking slam it down. 2 points. I can't help you there. All right, slightly...
I'm like Coffee Black and Semi-Pro, just fucking ollie-ooping that shit.
And then slightly behind would be Ultron. Okay, got it.
Mm-hmm.
God,
Although, the Agent Window only having 1% play really blows me away.
can you imagine? They're like...
Don't get me wrong, I've literally never seen her on the tabletop, but I'm still surprised.
No, but imagine a world where you're creating characters and you're like, okay, I think Ultron's set. Okay, go ahead and print him. And then down the road, during the Tabletop Simulator League, Ultron, 1%, 2 people took him.
Yeah.
Because they're like...
Well, he's a starter box character.
Yeah, he's like, look, I'm Ultron, and...
And honestly, if it wasn't for the fact there was like 3 things that hard like counter him now, like, well, okay. Well, it's not hard counter him, sorry. Just the revive cards are really fucked up right now.
Yeah.
Like, I think they need to be overhauled almost. Like Hela's like revive mechanic doesn't work against Grievous Wounds, but both of the other like cards do, which is really weird. And then also Ghost Rider, one of the 3 revivers, also hard counters like the other 2, which is just dumb.
All right, quick question. If I made you take Sucker, Thunderwave, or Vapors of Valtor, which ones would you take?
Vapors of Valtor.
Wrong! Nobody takes any of those.
Trick question.
Trick question.
Shoot the
0.
hostage.
Shit. Wow, and nobody took Seeing Red.
I play Vapors of Valtor and my opponent cries.
Nobody took Seeing Red. That's unbelievable. Out of all those people. Like, that's a good card. Sorry.
Seeing Red's bad. Escort to Safety is actually not bad, though. It was one of the... Vapors of Valtor is the obvious miss. Especially with so many people playing Defenders. That made no sense to me.
Okay, here's the best part. How bad do you feel if you're the one... All right, so there's about 10 of them. So if you were the guy who took acute senses, good job, bro. Heave Ho. Somebody took Heave Ho. Heavy firepower.
This is what I'm talking about. Like, this is not valid data. Like, someone needs to go through there and then just, like, delete, like, the bottom and top 10% of the bell curve on win percentage. Because the guy who won all of his games, it doesn't matter what he played. He's probably going to win all of his games anyway. And the guy that lost all of his games, same thing. Probably didn't matter what he played. And so just delete those entries and then look at the middle of the pack.
So what I'm going to say is, are you telling me that Heavy Ordnance was not played by one of the winners this year? Or is that what you're trying to tell me right now?
I did not see that anywhere on the list. However, I think Heavy Ordnance is actually an acceptable card. It's not bad.
It's
probably the second best attack card in the game. I guess third best because Cruelty's technically an attack card.
So what do you think the guy who was like sitting down there going, and I don't know. What do you think they were doing when they're like, all right, look, It's either Ricochet Blast or Field Dressing. Oof.
Heave ho. It's heave ho.
Oh, Jesus.
I refuse to believe he found some secret tech with Heave Ho that is like some super powerful combo and wasn't just like, I'm never going to use this anyway and just put it in. Now I could totally believe that he was in a situation where he's like, well, I already know, like, if I'm not playing these 5 cards, it's this 6th one. So my last 2 slots literally don't matter. And so he put that in there as like a red herring to confuse people. And so I think that could be a possibility. But I refuse to believe that in this universe, someone took Heave Ho and it gave them a better chance of winning a game. I refuse to believe that's the case.
No, not in the world we live in. Okay.
Yeah. There are too many unrestricted cards that are better than that card. Like, even Smash is better than that card.
I mean, technically, yes, it is. How many people took Dark Reign? Guess. Out of 169.
How many of them played Cabal?
Let's see. So, okay, hold on. I'm going to tell you. Let's get here. Cabal, let's see. Not a lot. How many people do you think played Cabal? What percent?
Percentage? Considering the highest was, 16? The lowest was 1.
22. The lowest is 3.
What? 22 people?
22%. 3%.
Played Asgard?
Yes.
Holy shit. That's way more than I thought it was.
So Cabal got played how
I'm going to go with 7%.
8%. 13 people.
That was pretty
okay,
close.
so with that number, what's the other like?
Where are you getting the people? Did you just do the math?
No. It says.
Where does it say? I looked on the sheet. I didn't see it.
It's on the other one. You're looking at the
it's
wrong.
in the other document.
Yeah, the other document.
Okay.
So, the card I was asking about. What was that?
Dark Reign.
Dark Reign. Okay, what was that?
You said 13 people were playing Cabal?
Yeah. 13%.
I'm going to guess 13%. No, it was 7%.
Correct. There you go.
13 people.
13 people.
You're drunk. You need to take it easy, bro.
I'm trying. Fucking
so 13 people. I'm going to guess 4 of them took Dark Reign.
10.
10 of them.
10 of them
10
took
of
Dark
them.
Reign? That's a lot.
10 of them. Anywho,
I don't play it that much anymore.
Yeah. Well, there's some cool stats here. So we'll dig into it once this thing is wrapped up. That'll be fun.
What thing is wrapped up? What are we wrapping up today? Tactics cards?
The TTS League.
Oh,
It
once
wraps
the
up this
TTS thing is wrapped up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Season 4 is wrapping
These
up
are just roster
in
stats.
a few days. Yeah. Season 4 is wrapping up in a few days.
Yeah.
They've got the top 2. The top 2 are out. Which is currently
You gotta tell Tim we're talking about TTS.
TTS. Who's Tim?
Tim Simpson.
Oh, okay. He's one of our listeners of the 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we're up to 5 now.
Cool.
It's reverse up.
My mom listens. My dad, my brother. I get all my family.
I pay 3 people at the bus stop to listen. So
You run up
5.
You run up to people and give people $1 if they just click like on their phone now.
if they download it.
Right now.
If they have to download an episode.
Nice. So yeah, that's
I'm
what
checking
we do.
now. I'm worried that week that I was super busy and couldn't get the podcast edited, we lost some listeners because consistency.
God.
I'm trying to load
Yugoslavia
up
is
the page
tough.
now. Why is this?
Some of those Middle Eastern countries are going to be tough. They don't allow for breaks like that. It's going to be over.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess their site's just our hosting site's just down right now. It won't let me go to our dashboard.
We have so many people downloading
It's weird.
our stuff that it's just locked it up.
Yeah, there's just too many.
Too buku.
All right. So, all right. Well, anyway, I hope you enjoyed that random Jeremy shouting questions at me about the TTS numbers.
This is spontaneous and quizzing was pretty good.
I like that he got mad when I was getting them right. He's like, "Oh yeah, what about the next one?" It's like, this. He's like, "I hate you."
I'm jealous of people who can remember anything. I can't remember anything. My memory's horrible.
I like when we're like playing D&D and someone's like we'll be playing for an hour and they're like, "Oh man, what page is that on?" I just tell them the page number and they're like, "What? You don't even play this class?" I was like, "Yeah, but I look it up so many times for you that I remembered it." He's like, "I hate you."
No, I'm basically the opposite of that. People just assume I have no idea what they're talking about because I already forgot.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so we're going to do some Tactus cards. Would you guys rather do the rest of the Tactus cards in numerical order? Or sorry, not numerical order. Alphabetical order. They're numerical on my Excel spreadsheet. Or would you rather do them based on which ones require specific people to play them? So like we did the affiliation-specific cards. Would you rather do the character-specific cards next? Or just lump them into unaffiliated cards?
Character might be better. People that might be more useful to folks. They championing their one guy they play. That might be nicer.
Yeah.
Whatever heave ho gets
What?
put in there, and we get to be as specific as possible of how good that card is.
Hevo is number 58 on the alphabetical list.
Technically, Jeremy, number 58. Clearly a hot one, on fire.
No, I just numbered them alphabetically.
Okay.
So the H's come in around the 50s. Oh. We should have I should have done this during Stockwatch last week. Exceptional healing on the rise. Oh boy. So you're coming up to play tomorrow, Jeremy?
Yeah, I suppose.
You sound way less excited than you did earlier.
Yeah, I'm coming. Nobody else responded. I guess, it's just going to be me and you, I guess. That's cool, I guess.
All right, let's see. How many is this? 36 through 67. So we have 31 character restricted cards. You think we can do that in one episode?
Oof.
That's a lot. That's exactly how many affiliated cards there are. Remember how long that took? Those felt like 3 episodes. That took so long.
We might be able to go quickly.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these are bad. Because we have all, like, the Thunderwave cards in here.
I mean,
Like,
truly.
One, moving on.
These are very specific. Like, the other ones are like faction. So you could kind of have to say there's 7 characters that are good, 2 that are bad, 1 that's kind of okay.
Yeah.
These are like, they're either good or bad, most of them.
If we want,
I had a thought earlier.
I could. If we want, we could like time them. We could actually like say time.
Do like
pick a number.
like lightning round.
Yeah.
No, I think we'll be okay. Because usually when we get it, I think the best parts is when we start railing on bad cards. So I don't want to take that away from our listeners.
Yeah. We don't want to give them a treat.
No, there was a combo card. I can't remember what it was. I was thinking about Sibling Rivalry at the time. But I was like, you know what? This is the best team-up card in the game. Like, it's thematical, and I want to say I was thinking about Sibling Rivalry, yeah. because a lot of the team up cards, like Till the End of the Line or Thunderwave or Repulsor Blast, or is it Repulsor Reflection? Oh, is it Iron Man Cap? Ricochet Blast. Oh, it's not coded right. Well, Parker, are you in the Excel sheet?
Mm-hmm.
Can you double check the unaffiliated, unrestricted cards and confirm that there are none missing? Because Ricochet Blast wasn't coded. So anything else like Execute or anything that's a team up card or character specific that you see down there, I'm going to use the restroom real quick and then we can get started.
Is Smash Hulk?
I think Smash is anyone. You break something that's
Smash
a
is anyone?
size
Okay.
you or lesser, and you add that to your attack rolls, I believe. I'm going to go to the restroom. I'll be back.
Me too.
You both left. Asshole. Jesus. You gotta get in the habit of putting your mic up when you take your headset on and off.
Oh, I flipped it up right before I...
Because you always bang the mic boom and it's super loud.
Oh, okay.
That's why. It's because it's like hitting your mic every time you put your headset on and off. Because it like hits your forearm. You're not doing it on purpose. It's just it's really loud.
Got it. So you couldn't get any stats of the podcast?
I tried to open it and it wasn't loading. So either my internet's down, and since I'm using the internet in 9 different applications right now, I don't think that's the case. Or their website is experiencing problems.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. We're back up.
Hey, look at that.
Yep, we still peaked in December.
Damn it.
Looks like we're on a slight downward slope.
Oh, no.
Strangely enough, though, pretty much every, once a week, you might say, there's a huge spike in listens. And then it quickly, veers off back down to 0. And then there's this huge spike again next week. I wonder why that is. I'm kidding. I know exactly why that is. Because we released the podcast.
I was going to, you release it. Yes.
Yeah. It's just funny.
Is it when it goes on the news?
Well, because it's a bar graph, or it's not a bar graph, it's just a graph, and it's just like a giant zigzag 100 to 0 every week, and you're like, wow, this is really odd. Yeah, we're probably down about 15% from where we were a couple months ago.
Is it because
I
of
couldn't find
Parker?
anything else, Jimmy.
Do what?
I'll start sharing it to the groups again. I just hate sharing stuff in groups that isn't like actually useful information.
Wait, what?
Oh, I'm talking about advertising the podcast.
Parker, you're going to need to make your students listen to it for extra credit or something like that. That's
Yeah.
fine, right? If we did that,
Yeah, probably.
I can't imagine that to be an issue.
You know these cards are good when I don't even have an idea about what they do.
Oh, God.
Like, I literally, like, gun to my head, tell me what this card does. But, like, cost power. Like, that's what I would respond.
Feels like
it's
3
willing to bet
power.
There is a cost involved, yeah.
Feels like 3 power. Feels like maybe attack, positive, 2 dice.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. So we have basically no news. We have kind of a battle report. Probably not a lot of hobby stuff. Parker, who do you have? Like, you have people painting your stuff?
Yep.
Like, actively painting?
Mm-hmm.
That's so funny. You have like this a year and a half to get all your models painted. That way when you show up one day, you're like, bam, motherfuckers.
Yeah, it works whenever, my painter has infinity time to actually paint the models. And I don't have to wait for them, sort
Yeah.
of. Yep,
That's cool.
I will have absolutely everything that's out currently painted basically by the time I can put them down on the table.
Well done.
Yep. Sort
Do
of.
you know what they look like yet?
I have all the first wave of stuff he did, which is Wakandans, the base box, the Guardians minus Angela, and Web Warriors. Yeah. No, it looks good. It looks good. Looks like the box. I told him just, I want comic book art, and he did that. He did a good job.
Okay.
I'm still really proud of my MODOK. I'm really happy that I painted the MODOK. I think it's one of the better models. I'm excited.
You painted him?
Nice.
What?
You paint?
Yeah, he came over to my house. I helped him paint him.
Yeah.
Oh.
I showed him how.
Yeah. I'm still learning how to do
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
I
But
literally
after-
cannot even remember what he looks like.
After we painted the MODOK, I actually went and bought a bunch of painting stuff so I wouldn't have to borrow everything of Brandon's whenever I went over there. And then COVID happened, like, the next week. Or before
Yeah.
the next expansion, I think it happened.
It really helps when
Yeah.
you have like all the
Yeah, it
materials,
was pretty
all the
much-
paints, everything.
Yeah, it was like right after Asgard came out, COVID really started hitting everybody.
Thanks, Asgard. Thanks, Thor.
Yeah. They opened the Bifrost and COVID came through.
Jesus, I knew it.
All right, let's get started.
Okay. What? Oh my god.
Uh,
You don't remember that?
No.
That's what
I like
we
it.
did earlier.
yeah. It's a callback.
Wow.
Don't call it a callback. We've done it before.
Nice.
Oh boy. That was a good episode. Got there in a tight 15.
John
I
will
like
be
it.
happy. You shut it down quickly.
Yeah, I know.
I like
I'm
that.
actually like, what if we just did 2-hour episodes? We would have to put a lot less work into this.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Hmm.
Anyone listening still, this is the post-ramble, which comes after the pre-ramble, so you now know why we run towards there. And also, next week, we're probably going to do a stats deep dive into the, was it Season 4 Tabletop Simulator League, where there was like 168 people. And so we're going to talk about the choose rate for stuff, people putting stuff in their lists and things like that. It should be interesting. Basically, the first real view we've had at a larger meta, even though it's still Tabletop Simulator, so who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, it would be nice. I mean, all we know is like, what 6 people play. Really?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a handful of the rest of the world. It's interesting.
Well, the other part, like, even if people are managing to get TTS games in, there's less people playing on the whole. And so if they're listening to podcasts, they're probably being influenced by people are playing in a very small pool. And so there's a lot of small pools happening. And then there's the people that only play online. And the people that play online a lot are also playing the only other people that play online. So it's very segregated at the moment for theory crafting. And so you'll have a bunch of people that have like maybe just their best players exploiting something that is good, but it's not as broken as they think it is. It's mostly like a player skill difference they're experiencing. Because I remember when there was times what was the really broken thing we thought at the time? Like, I remember we thought Avengers were just broken, but I had just played 40 games more than anybody else. So it was really just people didn't know how to position things. And then I started losing games with Avengers because people realized Hulk is actually bad and it's just Captain America keeping him alive for a long time. And then so we're like, all right, I moved away from that. And then it's like, all right, well, clearly Cabal and MODOK is broken. And then we moved away from that. And it's just like we just kept seeing things like Criminals is broken. It's like, and so it was really just whatever the people had played the most was playing, we thought was broken because they were executing it so much better than everybody else. And so I'm curious how much of our theory crafting is that and how much like there is actually just unexplored right now. I feel like there's several factions that don't get nearly enough play. So,
like Sinister Six.
And it could be just as much be confirmation bias as where you're like, hey, I think this list is really good. And then you play somebody who doesn't know how to play against it. You're like, yeah, I smashed this guy. I smashed this guy. I smashed this guy. And it's like, man, nothing's standing up to this. Like, well, it might just be that people don't understand the play style that you're playing. Like, I remember when Web Warriors first hit the meta, we were like, oh my god, these people are like basically unbeatable. And it's like, it turns out we just didn't know how to play scenarios yet. And so we had to do some major looking at ourselves on how to play against them. And then they seem a lot more in line with the rest of the factions when that happens.
Yeah. Just as kind of a side note on top of that, like, I'll be so glad to get back to doing large tournaments with real people. Like, just to get the feel of it. And I mean, I know for a fact there's things that we may not be doing exactly correct as well that you learn at these big conventions. Like, there'll be little nuances that you're like, oh shit, I never read it like that. But everybody else in the whole world knew it. But for some reason, it's like those little things that escaped your meta because nobody opens the rule book. And if you do, it's for some sort of random thing. So if everyone like learned a thing wrong, it's just kind of, it's nice to get out in the real world.
It's like the Karchev meta, right? It's like if you don't know about the Karchev meta, you never know it's good. And then you're like, Jesus Christ, what is this?
Yeah.
Jeremy, I am going to be running a tournament on Thursday. How many weeks out is it? It's not this coming Thursday. Not next week, but 2 weeks from tomorrow, right? So 15 days from now, there's going to be a 8-person tournament at the Geekery. We're going to just do 3 rounds starting at 6:00 if you want to join.
Okay. I mean, obviously I'll be there. I mean, that's my day.
Cool. Sounds good.
So it'll be me and you playing 3 rounds. One after another.
Oh,
to see who is the champion.
There's totally going to be 8 people there. But in all seriousness, outside of April Fools, there's going to be, I think I'm going to run a tournament next month. See how it goes.
For sure. Yeah, I think that you'll get a bit of a showing. I think that people are ready to get out of their house and kind of explore. And I know,
obviously, there'll be me, you, and Parker will be there. And then there's going to be John and let's see, who else? Jason will be there. So there's 5, right, Parker?
If I'm there,
yeah.
What week in April do you want to do it?
Are you actually checking?
Well, my
You're like,
vaccine.
nope, that's not in the frozen hellscape of my life. I
I'm
don't
getting-
see how that's possible.
I'm getting a vaccine the last week of March, so that's like the 30th.
I thought the vaccine didn't make you non-transmittable; it just made you not develop symptoms, basically. Like, can't you still transmit it?
Yes, technically, but the data we have right now, actually coming from Israel of all places, I don't know why it's coming from Israel, but the data we have from Israel right now is that it's not transmitting through people vaccinated very well. It's cutting down on the rate of transmission. It's not zero, but if I'm wearing a mask and I'm not standing next to you guys, it's possible. It also would depend like.
Well,
like
what if
the
I'm
number of
not
people.
snaring? What if I'm not wearing a mask and I'm spooning you? Is that the same?
That I would get.
So,
I would GTFO.
Oh, okay.
But here's the other
Not
thing.
because of the mask, though. Right?
Yeah, mostly because of the hot dicking.
Hot ticking.
The other thing is the vaccine doesn't actually prove effective until 2 weeks after I get it. So if you did if you did your tournament like the end of April, it would be something I could think about. Although
So
I
John
do not
was
know.
telling me
I
that he
cannot promise
thought we
anything.
should basically go business as normal on May 1st because May 1st is the last restriction for adults getting the vaccine, is what he was saying. And so if we did it on May 1st, he said that basically anyone who wanted the vaccine could have it. So it's basically on you at that point.
I can tell you that I think for my family, my situation, my wife currently is got scheduled for her first vaccine next week, and I think if she and I both had the vaccine, I don't think we would have any problem with me going to this thing. I think if it's just me having the vaccine, I think we'd have to talk about it, think about it, find out what we were.
All right, well,
willing
let
to
me
risk.
talk to your lady friend. Let me know,
Okay.
and
If
I'll
Park
schedule
if
something. for
if
April.
Parker goes to the tournament, I'm not going. By the way,
Yeah, me neither.
I will not be attending. I will not be attending any tournaments with Parker, sir.
Let's see. What if we restricted the size of the event? So what if we did we got 8 people, right? What if all 8 people had to play in just the lounge area? So it's like we're basically playing on the floor because there's not enough table space, and we're all like shoulder to shoulder, like bumping into each other the whole time. Like would that be better? That way there'd be less people not in the tournament around you.
I can't
I'll
see
be
where the logic
bringing-
is flawed here.
I'll be bringing a cheese fondue set and with chips
Nice.
and other sort of dippings. So that'll be delicious. I think you should partake.
Well, I'll tell
I'm
you,
actually going
if
to
you want
bring
people.
a barrel full
If you
of
want
water.
people to get COVID, you should actually just bring a bowl of chips because they'll just munch on the chips and never put their mask back on.
Yeah.
And they're just like
Yeah.
constantly eating chips for hours on end.
I'm
Well,
actually going to
but yeah,
bring a barrel full of tepid water and apples so we can bob. I think we should bob.
Tepid water. I like that he bothered saying tepid.
Well, because if you make it too hot or too cold, the virus dies too quick. You got to give it a chance
Gotta
to
get those
marinate
fuckers
in
up.
there.
Yeah.
What if we all just shared the same room temperature lip balm? Is that fine?
Oh, jeez. Oh, I don't know
That's
why the
gross.
bobbing for apples one was funny, but the lip bulb one just makes me cringe super hard. Ugh.
You've gone too far! Did you guys not see that old SNL skit where it was basically like people asked to borrow your chapstick and how fucked up it is?
Oh my god.
But
Ugh.
they're basically walking into this dude and his wife, like, high end New York, wearing like, really nice clothes. They go walking into their building and they have a doorman, and his wife is like, "Hey, can I use your chapstick?" He's like, "I don't know. I mean, I don't usually let people use my chapstick." He's like, "Oh, come on, we're married. It's no big deal." And he's like, "Yeah, I guess that makes sense." So he hands her the chapstick and she uses it. And then she like looks at the door and is like, "Do you need some chapstick?" And he's like, "What?" And then he's like, "Oh yeah, thanks." And the doorman takes it, uses the
so
chapstick.
gross.
And then a guy comes walking in the building. He's like, "Oh, hey, Bill." And he's like, "Oh, hey, what's going on?" And he's like, and the doorman's trying to hand him the chapstick. He's like, "Ooh, chapstick!" Grabs it, uses it, and it just like
Ugh.
this line of people show up, and eventually it gets to the point where it's like random people passing on the street are using it, and then like a hooker walks over and uses it.
Oh,
He's like,
God.
"Just fucking keep it." He just walks inside, and his
Ugh.
wife's like, "Where are you going, honey?" It was so funny.
Oh, God.
It's like, oh my god, it's like 8 cents for chapstick. Why the fuck would you not buy your own? Like, it's like, can I borrow your chapstick? No, you can have it. Like, just go away.
Wow.
Anyway,
Ugh. So anyway,
Every once in a
we'll
while, I
be
see
having
a stu- every once in a while I see.
So
a
what kind of
student do
apples
that.
you bringing? Like Golden Crisps or Honeydews or?
I like Honeycrisp ones.
Mm.
I'm a big fan.
Nice.
Right. So Winter
I see my
Soldier comes
students
out
share
next week.
chapstick every once. That's right.
Oh yeah.
That's fucking for real. We're not fucking around. Like, I got to get there. Like, I'm ready. I'm
I'm actually really excited to
I'm not-
see a action one after WandaVision. Like the last episode of WandaVision made me like, oh yeah, Marvel action, boom kaboom kaboom. I want it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not excited at all for Winter Soldier and Falcon, but I will definitely watch it and I expect to enjoy it. I was excited about WandaVision, but I don't know, I'm not excited about the next one.
Well, I think
would you like to
WandaVision
look-
was
It's like-
exciting because it was the first one to come off. How's this going to work? Like, that was pretty cool. That whole is this going to be a thing? Is this going to work? And it was really cool that it did. So yeah.
Mhm.
The one I've been pumped for since the very beginning. The other ones I was like, okay, fine, all right, whatever. But Loki, I'm really
Loki
excited
is
for
awesome.
Loki.
Yeah, I'm excited about Loki. I didn't realize that they were going to be coming out like so quickly. Like there's just always a Marvel show now. I didn't realize that was the plan. I was just like, oh, okay, there'll be some Marvel stuff. But like, no, they're like, no, it's wall to wall Marvel shows forever now. And it's like, oh, well, that's cool, I guess.
Yeah.
I wonder if the Mandalorian will like break up that chain, or if it's always going to be Marvel, or if just Disney Plus will always have a new show every Friday.
Yeah,
It'd
I
be
wonder.
crazy if it was like Mandalorian and another like high premium show was coming out at the same time.
I was gonna
Oh,
say,
man.
I know they're doing a lot of Star Wars shows and a lot of Marvel shows, but I do not know if they'll be able to keep up a show every Friday. That seems like a
Yeah.
lot, but maybe.
That's like 8 shows a year per genre if they're gonna like run them both concurrent.
I don't think
They
they'll
got to
do
be
it
doing it one at a time.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
they'll ever do it concurrently, but I was trying to find out who is the. Oh, that's right. There's also Hawkeye. I forgot there's Hawkeye,
Mm-hmm.
and we already know who the girl Hawkeye is.
Oh, Love and
It's
there's Thor, Love and Thunder, Hawkeye, Loki,
She-Hulk,
WandaVision,
Moon
the
Knight.
She-Hulk show, Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, and then Falcon, Winter Soldier. There's like 8 shows. Yeah, I guess
And-
that's like a whole year.
and what if the animated one?
Ooh, yeah. That I'm actually kind of excited for that. It depends on who they like. If they get good writers, that I think more than anything depends on the writers. Because if it's just a bunch of dumb storylines, you're like, oh, whatever. Because they're not canon. That's like the whole point.
Right. I'm trying to figure out who is writing Loki. I'm trying to figure it out right now.
It is same guy that directed The Last Jedi.
Kate Herron is directing it.
Just kidding.
Don't do that to me.
It's like J.J. Abrams, right? Like he does all of it,
Yeah.
soul to soul.
Zack
Kate Herron
Snyder.
is actually
Zack Snyder.
Kate Herron.
No.
Kate Herron is the director, and she's primarily a comedy director, and that's what I want. I want Taika Waititi style Asgardian.
Oh
stuff.
yeah,
That's what I want.
he gets it. Like, that director gets it. So much fun.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted. Actually, I wanted to see him as a writer for this, but I don't see it.
Taika is really good. He has great
I-
comedy instinct.
He is doing Love and Thunder. Taika Waititi is directing Love and Thunder.
Ooh.
I did see that.
I can't imagine they take Thor away from him at this point.
No.
hmm
A movie that I've forgotten he was in and directed, What We Do in the Shadows. That is funny stuff.
Oh yeah.
Have you guys seen that?
Yeah.
There was a
he's-
movie for that? I only seen the TV show.
yeah,
No,
there's
that was a movie first. It was a movie first.
Ah, I
It
didn't
was
know that.
it was his movie starring him. It was him and Jermaine, the guy from Flight of the Conchords. It was like their baby.
Yeah.
As those two guys wanted to
Oh.
do that movie. Yeah, it was a 2015 movie. Jermaine Clement and Taika Waititi co-directed and co-wrote it, and produced it. Like, it was like they wanted it to happen, and it is funny.
Mm-hmm.
It is really funny.
Also, it's
The different
like those two
different
guys
powers.
are very funny.
the different powers that the vampires have is so funny. The one that like absorbs like what is it, like angst or something? Like he makes people uncomfortable and like he absorbs like their power.
Uh-huh.
Oh my god. It's so bad.
It's good.